That was close. Yup. DJI just sent me the new RS4 gimbal. Let's talk about it. Shoo. So if you don't know who I am HuyRebel. I create content for companies, brands, and myself. Yeah, so I specialize in real estate videography, and then I dip my toes into other niches like festival, fashion, car, and also drone. So yeah, that's basically it. Today we are going to talk about this guy right here. This is the new DJI RS4. For those of you that has been using the old, not the old, but the RS3, you probably want to know what's the difference. So they're almost identical on the outside, except from this screw on the RS4, which we'll talk about later. And also the tilt axis is extended by almost a centimeter, which is very crucial. We are also going to talk about how I balance my gimbal, because I get a lot of questions about that. Use it for real estate shoots and like every shoot. All right, so let's talk about some of the cool features of the RS4 gimbal. The tilt axis is now extended with almost a centimeter. So about my pinky finger. And why is that crucial? Well, because when I have my A7S III with the 24-70mm Sigma, this is my go-to setup. I often use the wireless microphone. Now this is the pretty small transmitter, right? I put it on the hot shoe over the camera, like that. And let's say for this is the RS3 gimbal, the old one. When I'm balancing it, so what I usually do is that I put my camera on like this, and then I zoom my lens to about 35mm. So what happens when I zoom all the way is that you see it extending. So instead of having here or here, I just find a middle ground, which is about 35. That way I don't have to always rebalance my gimbal. So I put it around the middle, and then I balance the gimbal. So you see what happens? When I have the microphone transmitter on the hot shoe, it touches. So whenever I want to do a low shot, let's say I film the real estate agent, they'll kind of do a low shot like this. You see how that gets in the way? And now it's stuck. So having that extra room is going to help the gimbal not get stuck. That extension of almost 1 centimeter is good enough for the gimbal to not hit the microphone receiver. That little extension on the tilt arm is good to have. By the way, if you want to get the LUT that I'm using, check the link in the description. Now let's talk about vertical filming. So I shoot a lot of vertical content for my clients, and also Instagram is vertical. So I need to be able to switch to vertical filming smoothly without, taking so much time. And I've tried a couple of hacks when filming vertical with this gimbal, but it's not the most optical way of filming. So what you can do is that you can purchase a separate vertical mount for the RS3. Looks like this. And the way that you shoot vertical on this gimbal is that you demount this plate and then put this plate on, and then, takes a lot of time. Okay, so let me show you how I've been shooting vertical on the RS3. So you gotta take off this plate right here. It's been a while. Like that. And then you take this plate off. Like this. And then you take the vertical mount that you purchase on like this, and then you take the first plate that you took off, slide this in, and now you can mount the gimbal, lock it, boom. So for the roll axis, look how much force I use, and it's not smooth. Then turn on the gimbal. So now I basically have a vertical setup. for the RS3. Now this is much better for filming vertical. So the RS4 has something they call second gen native shooting, which means that you don't need that vertical mounting plate as you need on the RS3. It has native. So I'm gonna show you how much quicker it is if I wanna go from shooting horizontal to vertical. I just lock the gimbal, turn on this screw, release it, turn it 90 degrees this way, bop, lock it in, and then you need to rebalance it, of course. And by the way, the RS4 comes with a new plate under the camera, and it's a lot better because it has like a block here. So push it in, screw it on. This plate will not rotate, which is crucial because you want to have things pretty straight as it should be. So it's very secure. Let me actually show you how I balance my gimbal. Slide this on this, you lock this, and then what I do, turn my lens on the 24-70 Sigma to about 35, so the balance is even. And then I start with this one, so it's going back. I'm holding one hand here, and I just let go. So it's too back heavy. I'm gonna open this up, roll, let go. Yeah, about fine. Now you might need to do this one again later, but then after this one, I turn the camera up, because now I'm focusing on this one. Okay, so it's a little bit, so I'll open, slide down. It's so smooth when sliding this. So I'll show you a trick how to actually slide this. You don't hold the camera, and you kind of always hold this arm, and then you get a more precise, instead of like this. Hold up and down. And then I take the roll arm. Notice how this roll axis is a lot smoother than the RS3 because this is Teflon coated. I don't know if the other one is Teflon coated, but I don't believe so. You see how smooth it is? Back and forth. There's a huge difference. But also here again, you can either hold this with the left hand like this, or your thumb like this. Then you can get micro adjustment. Looks about right. Bada bing bam. And then last one, this is also how you balance this thing. You lift up your camera, tilt it forward. You see how it's rolling? It should stay almost still. This is super smooth. Look. I'm not using any force, it just slides. Lock. Yeah? You see how this gimbal is not like this or this? This arm just stays. Yeah, so I would say that's more than good enough for me. Let's turn on the gimbal. Yep, I forgot to say that I usually take out my screen before I balance it like this. I didn't do it now, but I mean, it's fine. The gimbal motors are pretty strong, so. Anyways, so we're gonna see how fast this gimbal locks. Now this is the RS4. You see how fast that was? A lot snappier. Because the motors are strong, it kind of locks right away. So let's try to lock it. So the motors on the RS4 is about 30% stronger than the processor. You know, nice thing to know. Yep, so that's basically my setup. I can carry this gimbal around when traveling without needing to bring an extra mounting plate, so that's great. Because when you're traveling, you want to keep the bag very minimal. So it's not heavy, or you don't have any extra accessories to keep an eye on. So another cool thing that this thing supports is an extra battery grip, which will extend the battery up to 29 hours. which is pretty crazy. This is the battery grip. I mean, look at this fucker right here. Look at the size difference. So if you're having a shoot for a very long time, maybe this one is the right one for you. But I mean, this is more than enough for me. Let's actually mount it on to see how ridiculous it looks. So what's so great about this battery grip as well is that you can use this as a power bank, so you can charge your smartphone, cameras, batteries. So yeah, essentially just a power bank that can also be used on the RS4 gimbal. Yeah, so I don't always use this handle, but very often. Lock, then you rotate this handle based on where I think I'm gonna have it about here. So you can also rock the gimbal like this if you want. I find it easier to rotate the gimbal like this instead of this, because now you have to swing your arm around like this, while if you hold it here, everything is in the wrist. Flick it in the wrist. Whenever you want to shoot low, this handle is perfect. You know, I'm holding it with one finger. See how balanced it is? So whenever you want to do a low shot, perfect. Woo! You see how fast that was? When you lock your gimbal like this, you can just carry it around like this without worrying that it's going to, you know. I do not recommend you turn on the gimbal without balancing or having anything on the gimbal. It will mess up your motors. Okay, turn it off. That motherfucker is not something you want to do. So don't ever turn on your gimbal when you don't have anything on this. Looks like the battery grip works for the RS3 as well. Lock the gimbal, not as fast as the RS4, as you can see. Yeah, it's not as fast. So your setup will obviously be heavier with the bigger battery grip. So I just like as minimal as possible and as lightweight as possible, because I've been shooting festivals and you walk around like this for like almost 10 hours. It's like super heavy. So I want my setup to be as light as possible. Okay, so that's it guys. Keep your heads up for part 2 because I will be posting more about this gimbal. If you haven't checked out my free community, you can check it out in the description. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys later. Peace.